Welcome to the Real Estate Mastery Podcast, where seasoned investors, savvy entrepreneurs, and business moguls converge to share invaluable insights, strategies, and stories in the world of investing. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just dipping your toes into the market, join us on this journey where knowledge meets entertainment and education fuels your entrepreneurial spirit. Each episode features engaging discussions, informative interviews, and real-life case studies that offer a unique blend of education and entertainment with our host, Jason Chrisman.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome back. This is your host, Jason Chrisman. Today, I am here with a real estate entrepreneur. His name is Richard Taylor, and I'm extremely inspired by him because, one, his age, two, his performance, and his multiple streams of income that he does. Welcome to the show.
Hey, man. How you doing? Thanks so much for having me on.
Of course, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Richard. You're 22 years old. Tell us a little bit about your education.
Yeah. So I have a Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration from Oregon State University. I finished Oregon State a little less than a year ago. I graduated in late June of 2023. And during college, I worked on setting up multiple businesses. The majority failed. And towards the end of my college career, in my senior year, I was able to find success in real estate after even failing at real estate for a number of years. And I'm a real estate investor and a real estate content creator.
Phenomenal. We love that, especially coming from somebody in your generation at the age of 22. When I was 22, I was still picking my nose. So congratulations on that, brother. That's a huge inspiration for people that are out there, especially for our audience that does listen. We have such a wide variety of different ages in this group. So let's dive into it, Richard. How old were you when you actually started getting into real estate?
I got into real estate at age 20. I think I started consuming content, Jerry Norton's content on YouTube, and just a ton of other real estate investor, real estate wholesaler content creators. Really, Wholesale Hotline and Kong Wholesale to Millions. Those were two. I was really surprised by the information that I learned there.
So what did you take away from what you learned there? Was that like a game changer for you?
Yeah, honestly, Jerry Norton's podcast was, well, his podcast and his YouTube channel, they're kind of one and the same. But I listen to a lot of his podcasts in the car, which are just YouTube videos without the video. And I was surprised that he wasn't buying leads. And I was surprised that he was able to just make it work with the houses that were listed on Zillow or the MLS. So I learned that, one, I didn't have to go the W-2 route. Jerry Norton is also college educated and chose a different path, this from home with just my phone and without any money.
Oh, 100%. That's the game of wholesaling. I think a lot of people overlook Zillow, Trulia, Realtor. There's a ton. I mean, it really is a cash cow. You could print money off these websites, and you could do it by many different ways. You know, buying real estate doesn't necessarily have to mean 20% down. You can go creative. I've actually been paid for a deal before. Dead honest truth. Somebody was over leveraged. They had no equity in a property. They took out a cash out refi against their property. They went behind on their bills. I took it over. I caught everything up. I got paid to take that property from them because it was just a giant headache. So you are 100% right. You can make money in this game with very little bit of money or no money at all. Of course, those deals are a little bit harder to get, but they are definitely possible. It is a numbers game. You know, you're putting consistent amount of offers out there, and by doing so, you're always going to get somebody who wants to take your offer. So
Absolutely.
why would people 100%? Why would people go the seller finance way instead of just selling their house? Tell the audience, you know, what's in it for them.
It just comes down to pain, honestly. It's really, I would say it's not always a what's in it for them scenario. It's I've failed at the alternatives. And we see that a lot in this market where interest rates are higher than they've been in 20 to 25 years. So, you know, we see a lot of individuals who have had their house sitting on market for 200 plus days. And sometimes they don't have a mortgage. Sometimes they're not over leveraged. One of my properties in my portfolio right now, I got for $0 down, and they were not over leveraged, and the house was fully renovated in San Antonio. So we see people with multiple different pain points, whether that be days on market or whether that be being over leveraged. As you said, we see a lot of people like that. We're doing a lot of deals where people owe just about what they're listed for on Zillow, and we just paid over the property usually for $5,000 to $10,000.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. As well, I've gotten properties, with people who weren't over leveraged from other investors who just like the income. Let's say they don't want to pay capital gains on their portfolio and or their property. Instead of getting hit with a 40% capital gains or having to pay out after doing a 1031 exchange for many, many years, because that tax doesn't go away, correct? That tax stays there. And at the end, when they sell that property, if they use the 1031 prior, they have no choice but to pay that tax. All of that tax built up throughout those years at the very end when they're selling that property. So instead of that happening and getting hit for 50,000, 60,000 of capital gain, they're only paying a little bit each month because you're paying them on terms. So when somebody does seller finance, which could be an agreement for deed or subject to. So the difference between both of those for the people out there, subject to is going to be based when there's a mortgage on the property. So you're buying it subject to the debt. Of course, you want to put that into a trust to protect yourself against a due on sale clause. Then there's seller finance. That could be when the property is completely owned by the seller, no debt attached to the property, and the seller is willing to carry all of the note. Now, with subject to, it could be both. It could be seller finance and sub to together, where there's bank debt, and then the seller has equity in the property. So you're making two separate payments on that property. Both ways can be extremely feasible, and you can make money off of both sets. The thing that I love about creative finance, and I'm not big in creative finance for my audience who does know me, I'm very big in debt. I'm in millions and millions of dollars of debt, and I sleep like a baby at night. Because if my debt's $35,000 a month, you got to believe I'm bringing in $65,000 a month. That's the game that we play. Do you have advice for people who are kind of giving up on real estate? They've jumped in, they just haven't hit a home run or really anything yet, whether it's in wholesale or buying rentals. What advice can you give for them to not give up, keep going, and how to actually get started the right way?
I had a little boy close a deal in the past month, 0% interest seller finance, and he offered the seller $21,000 more than they wanted for the house. And honestly, like we can go into motivational speeches, but I had a 15-year-old freshman in high school 3 years before he's able to legally sign a contract, close a 0% interest seller finance deal on a fully renovated house that had sat on the market for 150 days. So fully renovated, the seller has the expectation of getting massive capital gains. They want big profit on the deal. And we were able to take them from that expectation based on the days on market to seller financing at 0% interest. So when somebody's like, oh, I'm about to give up, I just don't know if I can do it, I'm like, I had a little boy do this. And honestly, I would understand wanting to give up. If you're looking at most wholesale content creators, they're telling you to offer 65% of ARV. So you find a house for 300 and you're like, hey, how do you feel about 190? That doesn't feel good. And honestly, you should give up. If that's your strategy, like, it's probably not going to be the right business for you. But if you're offering people over their asking price, I mean, you're having a totally different type of conversation. And that's what I do. So we had a little kid find a house for $359,000. He offered $380,000. They just accepted it right then, right there. We didn't even bother talking about interest. $700 a month, interest free. There's no better vehicle in the world to build wealth than 0% interest principal paydown on seller finance deals. And he created it. And then we ended up selling that. And he's a little kid. And it was like month one of him being in Hold My Hand Wholesale. So when I see a little kid having that sort of success, I'm like, there's really just no further excuses. That address was, I wouldn't say something like that without leaking the address.
Yeah, no addresses.
No addresses? No addresses? Well, check my TikTok. I talk about it every other day.
Yes, that's Hold My Hand Wholesale, right?
Hold My Hand Wholesale. I think I leaked the address in a TikTok yesterday, but I mentioned that address like all the time, because it's just unfathomable. And I mention it because it is unfathomable to know that it actually sold over the MLS asking price.
Now, I completely understand why people do that. So I'm a different type of investor, but I do understand that if you're wiping away interest on a property of that value, the interest is at least $225,000, $250,000 over the span, the life of the loan. It's a lot. So if you can get a deal and overpay for it and completely wipe out interest and get it on terms, 100%, it's a no-brainer. But I do see people going out there overpaying $100,000, $200,000 just to avoid putting a down payment down, but they still have interest. I don't agree with that at all. Just save yourself 10, 15, 20 grand.
100,000 over list is a lot. Typically, we're only like 20 or 30,000 over list. And my favorite thing to do is take a 300K house, put it into a mortgage calculator, Give yourself a 30-year balloon to see how much you would have paid at that time. And at market rates for a $300,000 house, you're going to pay about $800,000. If you refinance, it'll be lower, but at market rates today, we'll probably pay about $600,000 to $700,000.
Sure, completely, 100%. And I get that as long as that overpayment's not going too crazy, but I've seen it and I hate it. So I did see in one of your videos, you did have something, 200,000 overpay on a portfolio. Am I correct?
Portfolio is possible, yeah. If we have like 5, 10 houses, it's $200,000 over list price to incentivize seller financing.
Because you're still hitting that $20,000-$30,000 per property. You're not really going 100,000 over on a property.
Yeah, I would go
So that's
100,000 over on a property at the right terms. I would do that. It would just have to be the right terms. If I got $0 down, 0% interest, absolutely, I'll do that.
So by doing that, are you not worried about your exit strategy? Because look, let's be real. Shit happens, life happens. Sometimes you got to drop a property. Sometimes you need to be able to strip equity out of a property. But if you do that on every single property, you will be over leveraged. You will have zero exit strategies. What's your way for, giving yourself an out? Or you're just going to ride it to the very end no matter what?
I don't have an exit strategy for those properties. And honestly, if you put it into an amortization calculator and you look at what you owe in 5 years, $100,000 over list price, if you're paying, say, $1,000 a month towards that. So for example, I'm under contract. We just sold it for $23,000 yesterday, but I'm under contract for a property in Punta Gorda, Florida. It's a penthouse. It's the second 0% interest deal I've gotten in Punta Gorda, Florida, actually. And we're about $50,000 over the asking price of the seller there, but there's no interest on that amount. We pay down at $1,000 payments to the seller every single month, $12,000 on the mortgage every single year. If you do that for 5 years, that's $60,000 of principal pay down. So while you are over list price, you do pay that down a lot faster. And I live by the saying, equity comes, equity goes, but the cash will always flow, meaning I could not care less what my equity is in a property as long as I have cash flow. And I find that to be similar towards Section 8 investors who are purchasing properties in depreciating markets. You may see a Section 8 property in, say, Cleveland, Ohio that was purchased for $50,000 in 2006 that now sells for $80,000 today. But when you account for the 6% inflation that we're seeing per year, your $50,000 in 2006 is way more than your $80,000 today. So I see these properties and I'm like, Section 8 properties are a great example of this. They're not equity plays. Sure, you build some equity over time, but at the end of the day, there's inflation that kind of eats up your equity and you're getting profit on it, but really it's a cash flow play. So all of my deals are cash flow plays, and I have very few that I intend to exit. However, there is one in my portfolio that I may exit in the future, but the rest of them right now, holding on to those properties as long as we reasonably can.
100%. As speaking from a Section 8 landlord, I have 47 properties. Majority of those properties are Section 8 properties. I never, ever go for an equity play on a Section 8 property. I'm buying single-family homes anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000, but my cash flow on a single family is $550, even $600. So it's all based on the cash flow. But my risk is very minimal. I'm at a 40% cash-on-cash return at the rock bottom. That's my worst-case scenario. I get my money back in 27 months. I've gotten 100% cash-on-cash a bunch of times. I'm very big on the BRRRR method as well, but I'll never really BRRRR out of a property that cheap. It'll have to hit, at least 6 figures. Buying a property for 50, putting in 20, it's worth 90, it's not worth it. There's nothing for me to strip from that property. Yes, I'll have the property absolutely for free equity, free cash flow, and maybe a few $1,000s to strip. But when I'm going to do the BRRRR, I'll buy a quadruplex for 90 that needs 50,000 to work, but now it's worth 250,000. My refi out on that is going to put 40 grand in my pocket. Plus I'm going to have $50,000 of free equity plus my cash flow. Now, normally on a quadruplex, I'll cash flow $350 a door, but because of that refi out and that $40,000-$50,000 strip of tax-free money that I could borrow that my tenant's going to pay back, and I'm going to reinvest that money, because of that took my cash flow down. So now my cash flow will maybe be $275 a door, but you could do so much more with that $50,000 than you could that extra $50 a door. That $50,000 is going to make me an extra, let's see, that's going to buy me 2 duplexes and a single family. Each duplex is $400 a side, rock bottom. That's $1,600 plus $500 for my single. That's $2,100 a month. So I lose $250 a month, but I make $2,500. This game is leverage. If you learn how to leverage, you learn how to, really communicate, build relationships, learn what to leverage, how to leverage, and when to do it, it's a no-brainer. You will be a millionaire in real estate. I've seen people, in real estate for many years and they have 2 or 3 properties. I've seen people in real estate for a year and they have 40 properties. You don't have to have unlimited money, right? That goes back to the relationship part or the terms. You're buying property on terms. I bought properties, $2,500 down on average. When I'm going on terms for a $55,000, $60,000 house, it's going to be 5%. The most I'm going to pay is 10% down. That is a 50 to 75% cash on cash return on my investment, which means in a year, year and a half, 2 tops, that is a free investment for me. But I'm not taking that money, putting it in my pocket, going back out and spending it. I'm reinvesting it back in. And I think that's a major problem. And I think you can agree with me. Most people send out $1, they get 3 back. They may put the $1 back in, but they take the $2 and they go out and they spend it. I put all $3 back. I haven't taken a cut from my real estate, which is well over $20-something thousand a month cash flow in my pocket. I haven't taken a cut of that for a long time because I reinvest everything back in. I need my money to consistently grow for me at a much faster rate. So by doing so, I'm growing 3 times faster than I normally would. This year alone, in 11 months, 47 properties is what I bought this year alone. What do you think about people? And this is a big question. I think a lot of real estate investors get stuck on this, right? If you're in this game, and I believe you answered this question for me already, but a lot of people struggle. Do I go for the worst house on the block in the best area, or do I go for the decent house in a decent area but get 3 of them? What route would you go? Are you more the quantity game, which is the game I play? I'd rather 3 properties over 1 any day. Or are you the quality game? Do you want the properties, or do you want one $200,000 property?
I never really look at it in that way. I'm not really thinking about it in how many I can have. I'm thinking about where my money will go the furthest. It could be 3 properties. It could be 1 property. It really just depends on the term. So I don't ever think about like the condition of the property, more so the terms that the seller's okay with. So the condition, I have some in my portfolio that need a little work. I have some in my portfolio that were in really good condition. And it's a hard question to answer because 3 could be better and 1 could be better. Realtor's giving me. So it's really about the seller, not the property.
Sure, I can agree to disagree, and I'll tell you where my thought comes from. So when you have 1 property, you're basing your ratio on a 4-to-1 or a 3-to-1, meaning a $200,000 property is going to need $1,700, let's call it $1,600 a month in order to stay afloat, right? Tax, mortgage, insurance, extra, vacancy, maintenance, property manager, $1,600 a month. So that cash flows, let's say $500, $600 a month, right? You have a tenant in there, and then you have 4 properties. You need those 3 properties in order to pay for that 1 property. So if 1 property stops paying you, goes vacant, or the tenant is just done paying you, you lose all of your cash flow on 4 properties. I play the 1-to-1 ratio, meaning if I have 10 properties and 5 of them are vacant, I'm still staying afloat and I'm still making money. And that's why the banks give me an unlimited amount of loans. And lenders will write me a check pretty much for anything that I need because of that. So I follow my taxes, mortgage, and insurance under my cash flow, which allows me to hit that 1-to-1 ratio. Especially when you go bigger in the game. If you have 100 properties, 50 of those properties literally can be vacant, and I'm still making money compared to the average person having 10 properties. If 2 of those properties are vacant, your whole portfolio is done. You are not making money. So I do think it definitely makes a difference, especially as a Section 8 landlord, because the FMR rates are so high. But I do want to get into a few different streams with you here. So you do make money from a few different revenue sources. Do you want to talk about those?
A few moments later.
So yeah, my 3 revenue streams. So I make money off of cash flow and equity. I make money off of social media. That's both subscriptions, that's both AdSense, and that's going to be paid partnerships between brands. So sometimes brands pay me to promote their products. More so a profit share of subscriptions when people sign up for a platform that I'm also using and marketing to my students. So we have AdSense on social media, we have brand partnerships on social media, and then we have subscriptions that come from social media. Then we have rental income, and then we also have wholesale income. Wholesale income is great right now. The subscriptions are great right now. The affiliate marketing that we have with a number of brands is great right now. So I'd say 5, maybe 4, 5, 6 streams of income that we have here.
What would you say is your most profitable and why?
It's between wholesale. Well, it's hard. It's like, are we talking like cash flow profitable, or are we talking equity profitable? Because what really creates real wealth. Okay, cash flow. So the best cash flow is definitely going to be your passive cash flow, like cash flow that just comes in no matter what, that you can count on. And for me, that's going to come from my subscription platform. So the subscription platform has 1,600 people paying $20 per month and seemingly raising by just about 100 to 200 people per month. So that's great. That's unfathomable. I love that. And then we also have the brand cash flow. So we have brands that pay me significant amounts every single month, more than I'd have to pay on my mortgage for my primary residence, just covered by a single brand. But at the same time, you also have wholesale, which is, I'd say, running passively, but also not running passively, because I do my own acquisitions on TikTok as sort of a social media stunt to show people it can be done. So I'm doing acquisitions for 3 to 4 hours per day, every single day. But at the same time, I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone, educating my students, generating new subscriptions, and generating my own wholesale deals. And there's a bit of a compounding effect when you have 1,600 people watching you and they're all funneling deals towards you. So my subscription platform, $19.99 per month, comes with a software program where people essentially make offers that fit our criteria. Those properties go under contract. We sell those properties and give the majority of the profit to the students who do it. So we've put a number of systems in place that make it super easy for them to do wholesale deals. I actually close those wholesale deals for them on TikTok Live and then pay them out the majority of the profit. So it's all about giving more than we take, but it's really hard to say which one is like best or most profitable, because I look at a deal like what we sold yesterday. I'm like, wow, that's $23,000 from 3 phone calls. And then I didn't even have to sell this deal. My dispositions manager sold it for me. But at the same time, the majority of that profit is going to go to the student. So out of the 2,300, the rest of that's going straight back into the student's pocket.
That's awesome. That's similar to what we do on our platform. Very similar, actually. The student will get a big leg up on how to get properties, where to get them, how to comp the property, to run the virtual rehabs on the property, as well as all these different connections, as well as lenders. On wholesaling, in order for a contract to be technically legal, you do have to put down an EMD. It could be $100, could be $10, whatever they accept, no big deal. But the biggest, concept that we do is we do handle all the disposition for all of our students. So they bring us a property. If it's a good deal, there's money to be made. We handle all the distribution. We'll sell it. So let's say it's a $20,000 property. They will get majority of that money. We get a little bit of cut of that money, but without us, they wouldn't have any of that. So tell us a little bit about your brand deals that you have. How did that come about? How do you get a brand deal? Exactly. Do they reach out to you? Do you reach out to them? Tell us the story.
Yeah. So my 2 brand deals right now, well, I guess we have 3. I guess we have Prime Corporate Services. That's an LLC setup company that I have my LLC through. We have PropStream. And then we have, well, I would say it's a bit of a brand partnership between a payment processor, WAP.com. I mean, this week, WAP sent me, we get PR packages in the mail. So WAP.com, the payment processor, I guess they sent me a champagne bottle with Hold My Hand Wholesale laser engraved into it. And then they sent me a gift basket with a ton of different snacks in it. But that brand partnership is like, I'm partnered with that brand, but they're my payment processor for the Discord. Whereas PropStream is a little bit different. I can't do business without PropStream. As I said, the house means very little to me. The seller's condition means a lot to me. PropStream reveals a little bit about the house and a lot of bit about the seller's condition and what's going on behind the scenes. Are you over leveraged? Are you in foreclosure? Is there a list pendants going on? What can I figure out about your financial situation that allows me to get a really good deal on a property? So PropStream, we have a program where essentially people can look up mortgage data, and there's a ton of different programs that do this. PropStream is just my favorite. And my rule is if I use a program religiously and it's something that I need to succeed, I have no issue marketing that to my students. So I share my screen on PropStream hours and hours every single day. And I say, well, hey, like we have a discount to this, and they sign up for PropStream, and really they're getting a discount. Meanwhile, it's something that you absolutely need to use. So we just market the platforms that we use, and I'm about to start another one of those with the company SalesMate, which does our CRM. But that's such a lucrative side hustle. Like PropStream 2 days ago paid me $3,500 this month just for essentially talking about it. And then next month it'll be $4,500. The month after that, $5,500. As I've only been doing this for about a year. I've only been doing the social media thing at scale successfully for about a year, and we're already seeing what my mortgage payment would be for a $700,000 house.
That's phenomenal. I got to say, Richard, to be completely honest with you, for 22 years old, you are very impressive. Again, this is Richard Taylor. He's into wholesale, buy and holds for the rentals. He has, all of these deals with these different companies, which is phenomenal. On top of that, from Podio, and for anybody out there, Podio is a good system to use if you're looking to find out, as Richard said, any information, whether a property's in foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, even, how much money the person makes, their income, what their net worth is. It tells you everything. You could skip trace people, which means just by having an address, you could find out the owner or the owners or LLC of that person just by skip tracing, which costs a dime, 15 cents. I use Batch, so I'm not super familiar with Podio, but I do use Batch myself. My partner uses Podio, so I definitely can appreciate and understand that. So I want to get into something a little bit different here for the people out there. What is your formula when you're looking to wholesale a property? Are you still doing the typical flip formula, which is going to be the ARV, the after renovated value, times the 70% minus rehab minus your assignment fee?
I'd like to do that. But it's just not. So there's a couple things there. One, a lot of flippers are hiding right now because their finished products are purchased with people who get loans, and they're heavily constricted by high interest rates right now. So I'm thinking about the customer, and I'm thinking about the person who's actually flipping the house. So the customer gets a mortgage. It's the worst time in 20, 25 years to get a mortgage right now. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, well, we have to lowball people to get deals like that. We have to really seriously lowball people. I'd say low end, you're $50,000 below list price. And that's if you find an amazing deal. That's if you find like being able to offer 50 below list and actually get a wholesale deal. That's a really good deal. Really high ARV in that area. So we see that sometimes. And I see a lot of other people doing that. And to be honest, I'd like to have that as an option. But at the end of the day, my formula is finding somebody who needs help. So I don't view lowballing people as, sometimes it can help them, but really I just like to give people their asking price one way or another. And I just use seller finance to do that. So my formula is, do you have a pain point? Is there something that I can see that's an issue? And my two favorite pain points are over 150 days on market. You're just, what are you thinking after your house has been on market for 150 days? You're either like, my realtor's horrible,
you're not,
or you're just like, This isn't selling. And then the thing is, what kind of offers have you been getting? Low balls. You've been getting lowball offers for 150 days that don't work for you. Then some random person comes in 50,000 over list price, and that really catches your attention. So that's one of my strategies. My other strategy is you owe what you've listed your house for. You owe the entire value of your house on your mortgage, and you have a fixed rate debt of 2.5%, 3% on your mortgage. I can take that over for realtor commissions for $5,000. I give the realtor a flat fee of $5,000, and I pay closing costs. You get a $400,000 house. We just did one in Lakeland, Florida that we assigned for $15,000, $375,000 list price, $6,000 in arrears, $5,000 to the agent. They're about to lose the house. They owe I think they owe $340 on it, so they have $30,000 of equity, but that's not real equity. That's equity based on an estimate, and that just would go to pay the agent. So they really aren't profiting anything. We caught up their arrears to stop their foreclosure, gave their agent $5,000, but we didn't give them that money. Our buyer did, and then we were able to stack another $15,000 on top of it. So you're entering a $375,000 house for $11,000 without qualifying while you have a 2.8% interest rate. And people are willing to pay big bucks for that. And the way I found that is just somebody who's either 150 plus days on market or somebody who's over leveraged.
Sure. The pain points, like you said, multiple pain points. It could be it's sitting on the market for a while. It could be personal. I've taken over properties of people that it was personal for them. They had to go with their family. It was a medical condition. Whatever the scenario, there's always has to be some type of pain point, or an investor, somebody with a stack of properties who's willing to, I don't want to say take a chance, but then you also have the people who feel, okay, they're going to put a down payment, they're going to miss a payment. So I know when we do this on seller finance, we put, if we miss 2 consecutive payments, the house is quick claim deeded directly back to the seller, which they love. They love to hear that, okay, they mess up 2, I don't even have to foreclose on them or take them to court. It's an automatic quick claim deed back to me, and they gave me $15,000 down payment, and they put $20,000 to make my property great, and they put the highest paying tenant in there. Fantastic. So that's definitely a big selling point for us as well. We want to show everybody, this is what happened if this happens, and this is what we're going to do, and this is what you're going to get. So the story behind taking a risk, there really is no risk for people. And let's be real, the highest you can get on a high yield savings account is what, 4% or so? It's like them having a $300,000 house. It's like somebody borrowing $300,000 from them and paying them 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever interest rate you decide to lock with. It's like them getting that money for 20 years or 30 years, which is great. But my question to you is, do you ever use debt? I'm very big with debt. I'll use my money, other people's money, and especially when it comes to something that's already in the foreclosure position, meaning these people have less than 20 days. A homestead buyer can't come in and save them because they have a loan process that's going to take 30 to 45 days. They need a cash buyer. It's somebody that has to have a little bit of equity so I can make money on the property. But a property that we had, it was $285,000 was the ARV. They were trying to sell the property for 240, I want to say 240 or 250,000, and it needed 30 grand of work. So it didn't make sense at that price point, but they owed 180. We paid the 180. We let them live in the property for 60 days, and we started them with a fresh new life with 25,000 in the pocket. I made 40 grand on that deal, but I bought it in cash because I had to. We couldn't go on terms. Are you able to do that? Are you able to go in and buy a deal in cash, turn around, spruce it up, and resell it?
I don't
fix
ever
and
buy
flip,
in
in other
cash.
words, through a foreclosure.
So yes and no. I don't ever buy in cash. I do have a renovation going on in Kansas City, Missouri right now. I can talk a little bit about that deal if you want. It's similar. We are putting some money into it to renovate it, but we are buying on terms at the same time. So I would say I buy in cash, and technically I buy in cash about 5 times a month, but it's not exactly what you think. I have a private money lender that does day flips for me as transactional funding, double closes. So a notary shows up to my house and I take title on 5 houses per month in cash. But am I actually using my own cash to do that? No. And then am I holding those properties? No, I'm immediately reselling them to an investor. So a deal that comes to mind from about a month and a half ago, 190 Monteith Circle, St. Louis, Missouri, listed on the market for $70K. We got it for $60. I bought it for $60 in cash using my lender, and then I immediately resold that same day for $75, and we made the $15,000 less closing costs in between. We were able to get the buyer to pay closing costs, so we ended up only paying $500 of closing and netted $14,500. So I do buy in cash, but not exactly for the same reason, more so just buying my students' cash deals for them and then immediately reselling them.
So you're never burring out of a property. You're never buying
No,
a
I
property,
don't.
renovating it instead of selling, burring.
Well, not quite a burr because again, I don't exit my properties, and I'm not taking a refinance out on the property. I'm not getting that big lump sum of cash via the refinance. Rather, I'll give you an example of where I'm doing essentially a forced depreciation. I have this property on Thorn Ridge in Oklahoma or Kansas City, Missouri, and this is a house where it was listed for $300,000. They owe $280,000. The after repair value is $475,000. So there's houses in the neighborhood that are selling for $600,000. They're 2 stories or a single story. We have the same beds and baths as them, but they're selling a little bit more because they're 2 stories. So ours is conservatively $475,000 for the ARV. The house needs work. The house was mid fix and flip. They put on the roof, they put on the siding, they did the driveway, they bought all the LVP, they did the floors, they didn't do the kitchen, and they didn't lay all of the floors. So the house, we sent a contractor in there, needs about $20,000. But this is one of the craziest wealth creation plays I've ever had. So essentially, I'm getting into this deal for $2,500, and the house is almost fully renovated as is. It's just not complete. It needs $20,000 to complete. The person who was doing it fell short of it. So I said, I will take this over for $2,500. And they said, yeah, the house is worth $300,000 as it is right now. I'm putting another 20,000 into it. It'll be worth $475,000. I'm going to owe 280 on it. So I have like almost $200,000 of 200,000, my total investment, just under $30,000. And it also cash
Now
flows
that
like
equity
crazy.
in that equity in that property, you're not going to strip it out then. You're going to
No,
keep the
probably
property, you're
not.
going to cash flow from it.
I might take
See,
out
the
a
way I
loan
see
against it to acquire more, but the thing is that house, my payment on it is just about $1,800. The rent is $3,500. So it's in a really nice area of Kansas City, Missouri. Very nice up and coming area, and we're only paying like $1,900 a month on it at 2.8% interest, and it's bringing in $3,500 per month, or it will once we do the renovation on it. So I'm just going to have that equity in the back of my head. Like, yeah, I have $200,000 in here. Maybe I can access 100,000 of that for other projects if I use a private money refinance, or maybe even a normal refinance. It's possible I might have enough equity to pull something out of it, but I'm not going to sell that, honestly. I'm just going to hold on to that and let it appreciate. And then when a crazy multifamily opportunity or something I really want, maybe I'm able to pull against that.
Yeah, well, I definitely get that. At a 2.8% interest rate, you don't want to refi because you don't want to come to today's rates, which is about 6.48, not on the whole property. So I would definitely take a credit line against the equity that I have. The way I see it, you got 200,000 in there. Even if you could strip 120,000, for me, that's 6 duplexes using a $20,000 down payment on a $100,000 duplex. Each duplex makes me $800 a month. That's $4,800 a month in my pocket. That's the way I see equity. Yes, I could sit there. It looks pretty on paper. I got 200,000 in equity, but I'll leave the 80,000. I'll take the 120,000 and I'll make an additional $4,800 a month. That's the way I see it. I see it as sitting wasted money.
I guess I'm also just thinking about workload. Like, I just want to be able to go anywhere and do anything. And, with the properties we have right now, which is limited, I don't have many houses. I only have 3, maybe 4 if I close on my primary. I'm also just thinking about how little I can work on this, as wholesale is my main gig right now. So I wouldn't say I'm like fully into real estate investing. I purchase property when the craziest deal comes along, but it's not my thing. We have a wholesale operation, and I buy the best deals for myself because we want to take a couple along the way. We want to hold on to a couple of these properties along the way, just as another way to build wealth over time. So I'm not really thinking about it like, how can I acquire the most amount of properties immediately? And the thing is, with social media and with our following, I have private money lenders. I have people who have millions of dollars who are willing to spend them on our deals. But at the same time, I just don't have the time, and I don't want to not over leverage myself, but more so over leverage myself with time by acquiring that many that quickly. I might later, when my wholesale operation is fully built out, but honestly, it still needs work. I still need to work on my dispositions. I still need to work on refining my systems. And until I don't have to touch my wholesale business, and then I will start going hard into acquisitions for properties.
100%. Look, for a 22-year-old, that's a great way to grow. There's no reason you have to go gung-ho 100% full speed ahead. You're only 22 years old. Take your time, grow correctly. The way to grow a business, I own 4 companies, right? The way to grow a company, I can't start all 4 at once. I start one, I give it a year, year and a half. Then I start my next one, and I start my next one. You really got to build it up to where it's self-running. It has to be on its own legs, and you have to have a system in place. Like with real estate, I buy all of my properties now. I didn't for six years and change. I bought everything in New York where I live, but now I buy in Pennsylvania. I buy in Birmingham, Alabama. I buy in Cleveland, Ohio, Toledo, Akron, and I've never seen any of these properties, not one of them, because I built such a refined team that consists of property management, real estate agent, contractor, title company, and a handyman. These are people that I trust, that I employ, that because of me, they're able to go home and feed their families. And because of them, I'm able to feed my families. So it's a system that works for all of us. And if you set up a system, you could definitely tag that on. And again, you're only 22 years old. You have such a long way to go in life, and you're doing amazing. Kudos to you, my friend. You're doing awesome. So advice, 100%. I'm truly impressed with you. Like I said, when I said I was 22 years old, still picking my nose, I was. I owned my first company at the age of 15 years old, which was a DJ company. My parents used to drive me on my gigs. I would make $150 per gig. Since then, I've probably owned about a dozen companies. 6 or 7 of them were more Joker companies. 3 of them I sold for 6 figures, one mid 6 figures, which was a commercial cleaning company. And then I got into real estate. Real estate is the most the biggest passive way to make the income in order for me to not lose my time. I have 3 children. I want to spend as much time as I possibly can with them. And I could do all of this from the comfort of my home. And that's ultimately the objection, right? That's what you want to do. That's the objective. We're at war right now, unfortunately, with ourselves based on, I don't like to say our country, but we kind of are, because everything is so expensive. Cars are double the price. Mortgages, forget it, 7-8% people are locked in, and the prices of homes are still high, like the rates are 2 or 3%. But they're not. This is a very odd time to be in real estate. Me personally, I like the interest rates high because it knocks away the home steady buyers, so I can buy these properties. I could scoop in, I could buy these properties. Even if I buy them for cash, I refi out in 3 to 6 months. It's an absolutely free property, free equity, free cash flow, the whole 9 yards. That's my game. But for somebody else that's in this game that wants to play it a little bit different, you can go the equity play. The equity play is buying the worst possible house with the strongest foundation and the best structure, but everything else is a complete gut in one of the best neighborhoods you can find. For anybody who's looking to do that, I have some of the top lenders that you can use that lend throughout every single state in this beautiful country that we live. They will lend on $1 million deals or $10 million deals. And that's what I like. And going back to what we said before, that's building relationships. You built relationships with these lenders so you can get the gap lending. You can get everything that you need for your down payments. Because of that, they make money, you make money, we all make money. That's the system. That's why relationships are so important in real estate, because it's all about building a foundation, but you can't do it by yourself. You need to do it with other people. And that's what this podcast is about. It's about people seeing that you can be something amazing in life and you don't need to have a lot of money to do it. You are a prime example of a young man conquering real estate. Yes, you're conquering in wholesaling. You're getting brand deals. You're big on social media. Kudos to you. You should be extremely proud. I know I am. Richard, advice. The do's and don'ts. What advice, before we wrap it up, can you give the younger generation and the older generation? If they wanted to start today, what advice can you give them?
Well, I think the biggest mistake is not being a master of one. I think the biggest mistake that people make is that they try to do multiple things at once. And that could be multiple businesses, but it could be multiple sides of real estate. So if you're getting started in real estate, a lot of people are like, I'm selling to flippers, I'm selling to rental buyers, I'm also doing fix and flip, I'm also building my portfolio, I'm also doing creative finance, and I have all of these different strategies within real estate. Well, you can also do that within just side hustles. Maybe you're trying multiple different side hustles. You have to think you're either going to be a master of one or a master of none. Think about it as sports. Train 3 sports versus training 1 sport. I was Division 1 in college for rowing, and part of what got me there was just focusing on one thing. So I would say 1, tunnel vision. You need to have tunnel vision towards whatever you're focusing on until it's passive, until you've scaled that out. 2, you need to set metrics for yourself. You need to say, I'm going to talk to 10 people a day, every single day. And if you have tunnel vision and you never stop educating, you can continuously listen to podcasts. You only focus on one, and then you say, I'm going to make 10. I don't care what it is. You're going to find success.
Absolutely. Tunnel vision is such a big, important part of this. Richard, where can people find you? Your TikToks, your website? How can people get in touch with you? How can people learn from you?
Hold My Hand Wholesale. It's a school. We have 7 to 10 hours of classes per day. Brought to you for the price point of $19. So just Google Hold My Hand Wholesale or my name on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Be careful. There's about 30 fake accounts of me right now. They will try to sell you cryptocurrency. So if you DM somebody who's not me, who says Richard Taylor and has my profile picture, they're going to try to sell you cryptocurrency. So just look up Hold My Hand Wholesale on Google. Show up to class. Come say hi. Follow me on Instagram at Richard Grandin Taylor, just my full name. It'll probably be in the bio of this video. And we'll see you in class, man.
Absolutely. For anybody out there, we will have Richard's information to join his school or to be able to get in touch with him in the bio of this. So wherever you are seeing this, just hop in the bio. You'll see all the information for Richard Taylor. Again, Richard, such a huge inspiration, especially to the younger generation. Big influencer on TikTok. I love your quality. I love your stuff. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Again, everybody, this is Jason Christmas.
Thanks for sticking it out with us to the end. As always, if you enjoy our show, please subscribe so you don't miss any of our episodes, guest appearances, or education in the world of investing. Till next time.